out of this data then, what kills South Africans?
Well, the trend, as we see it, is that tuberculosis is still a number one killer. And then if you take all tuberculosis, pneumonia, influenza, HIV and AIDS, you get up to about 110,000 deaths out of 500,000 deaths. So you actually see that you have about 20% of deaths occurring out of that cluster of disease.
I'm a little confused because you also talk about HIV and AIDS, but it's a non-identifiable.
It's identifiable. 18,000 people died of it, at least recorded by doctor.
18,000.
18,000
over the period under review.
Yes, and tuberculosis 62,000.
So when you say 18,000 people, that means people who would have said that I am suffering from HIV and AIDS.
Well, that's what the doctor will have written as a cause of death. HIV and AIDS.
And could it be more? Could it be less?
Well, because it's not notifiable, and we know that socially stigmatized.
If it is not notifiable, how do doctors write that?
No, it's not notifiable. That is, there is no compulsion to write their notification, and we know why the compulsion is not there, because it's stigmatized. Insurance companies will not pay you out if you die of this. So there is a whole sociology behind it and anthropology behind it that causes doctors not to do this in the knowledge that there are consequences.
But some doctors are doing it.
Some doctors are doing it. So,
is that legal?
Well, when there is no compulsion, it can't be legal nor illegal. It's a moral issue, it's an ethical issue. But in the ethics of it, I suppose the doctors weigh out, do I let these people not get his insurance because of their dying from a stigmatized disease, or what do I write? Then the doctors write what they wish to write.
But again, that talks about inaccuracy, because we only know of 18,000 that's been written there, but actually it could be more.
Well, given the number of people that are infected with HIV and AIDS,
it's possible.
It's possible that
it's more.
It must be more. It must be more,
and a lot more would be perhaps recorded under TB, under all sorts of diseases.
Any other disease, yes, under all the. So then you can aggregate all viral diseases and say, well, we do know that causes of death under all viral diseases is 110,000, which you could include. Both TB, we know that the co-infection rate in TB and tuberculosis has an 80% co-infection with HIV and AIDS. So there is science has proven that. So it is quite likely that those people who die of TB are also HIV positive, but the underlying cause would have been TB rather than HIV.
But again, that's another factor that comes to the inaccuracy of the stats, because if the disease was notifiable, then we would know exactly what is killing South Africans.
Absolutely.
Under these circumstances, it's unreliable information that we have.
Not quite. I don't think any data is useless.
Not necessarily useless, but inappropriate.
All data is...
But inappropriate.
All data is useful. All data is useful.
Do you encounter similar problems elsewhere other than just in HIV and AIDS, or is it a problem peculiar with HIV and AIDS?
No. When you measure human endeavor, you see the question of human endeavor is driven by self-interest. Each one of us is driven by self-interest, self-motivation, and so on. And self-interest influences the way you answer questions of measurement, because you think about the outcome. And that influences the way you answer questions. That's why official statistics are about objective measures such as, what is your age? When were you born? That is an objective measure. But it does happen that the person thinking that he may get some pension may exaggerate their age so that they are of pensionable age. So human endeavor is very complex, and you try to bring it into numbers that make sense. Very, very difficult endeavor. There are always those kinds of things. But there are objective measures that you bring to anchor everything else that you measure. And then out of that, you can say, well, within 95% of confidence, within 99%, within 62%, 68%, this is what the measurement could say. So you need to understand the environment, the human endeavor, the self-interest that drives it, and the complexity that imposes on the measurement.
In the first place, people will say, well, why do we need to know information about who's dead and why are they dead?
In order to save the living, you need to know what killed the dead.
Right. When you also say more and more people are dying of non-communicable diseases, tell me about this.
Diseases such as diabetes, which are labeled diseases of lifestyle, what we eat, what we do, exercise and all that. These diseases are now increasing. 21,000 diabetes, cancer. All those diseases are lifestyle diseases. And they have to be watched carefully because they are on the increase and has to be sharper.
Let me just pick up on the issue of diabetes and cancer, for instance, because I saw a quote from the MEC for Health in KZN, Dr. Dlomo. He was talking about cancer and particularly the so-called poor communities, that it's becoming a big problem. Is that what you found as well, that more and more poor communities are dying of cancer, or people in those communities?
It is becoming an increasing cause of death, and particularly I think the cancer of the bone marrow. I don't know the language that doctors use, but this thing is becoming a surprise in the pattern of death, because we have always known cancer to be the cause of death for the rich. Diabetes actually cuts right across the spectrum, irrespective of whether you are wealthy or not wealthy. Yes. Yeah.
Do you also break it down in terms of what kills blacks as opposed to what kills whites?
Yes, we break it down by race. I mean, not many whites, or proportionately, I mean, whites are not as many as blacks, but if you break that into proportions, the pattern of death is actually counter postured. That is, the deaths that kill blacks proportionately compared to the deaths that kill whites are different.
Are they?
Yes.
Okay, what kills blacks?
Black you are more likely to die from TB when you are black. You are more likely to die from all those communicable diseases when you are black. Whereas when you are white, you are more likely, your odds ratio towards dying are much higher, to dying from cancer and diabetes and cerebral diseases, heart attack and so on.
And if you're Indian?
Indians, surprise, there is a lot of TB at the other end and a lot of these other diseases that kill whites on the other side.
So it's a mixture of both.
It's a mixture of both.
Colored
will be, there will be a knife. Non-natural causes are much more predominant amongst the colored.
And that is backed by stats?
Yeah, it's backed by stats. I mean, it's not so much non-natural in terms of car accidents, but gunshots, knife,
Violence related.
Violence related, yeah.
Thank you, in Mahikeng. Thanks indeed. Lucky's in Centurion. Good morning to you, Lucky.
I just wanted to say that the patients don't die from HIV/AIDS, but it's rather HIV/AIDS related illnesses. So somebody would die from TB secondary to HIV, or HIV/AIDS, and then causing that.
Yeah.
So it would never be written on the death certificate that a patient died from HIV/AIDS. If it's written on other patients, and I believe it's injustice to them.
Yeah, you see, this is interesting because that's what I was asking the statistician general. He's talking about 18,000 deaths that are attributable to HIV and AIDS, Mr. Statistician General.
Yes, you see, there is what you call underlying cause of death. And the underlying cause of death is the most powerful. I mean, a person could have, fallen from a bus while he had tuberculosis.
Yeah.
And he dies. The doctor has to distinguish whether he died because he fell from a bus or he died from tuberculosis. So all those things have to come in. And in the cause of death notification, HIV is written, and we as statisticians code it as a cause of death. And it's from the record of what the doctors have written. However, we also know that HIV as a notifiable cause, it has always been because of stigma, not written. So while the Dr. Ade and Lucky talk about this, it is true that HIV is a virus and it doesn't necessarily kill. But we also know that it is not reported because of the consequences of no insurance. We also know the prevalence rates. So,
but Lucky, as a doctor, have you ever written AIDS as a cause of death?
Never. What I'm trying to say is that, for instance, you get a patient that comes with a stage 4 AIDS.
Yeah.
So it's end stage, sort of. That would actually, after being put on HIV medication, you can actually reverse that patient to almost undetectable viral load, and he comes back to being normal. So in other words, what I'm basically saying that AIDS is not a cause of death. It is not a cause of death, and HIV cannot be a cause of death. But HIV/AIDS could be a secondary thing. Maybe somebody gets TB and dies from TB. Maybe pneumonia dies from pneumonia.
Yeah.
But secondary to HIV/AIDS.
All right. No, I hear you, Lucky. Thank you very much. He's also a doctor. This is interesting because then it goes back exactly to the 18,000 that you recorded. Are those accurate or inaccurate figures that you're sitting with?
You see, as I say, that we as statisticians code what is written there.
Yeah, sure. Carol Smith, hi. You with the South Africans Against Drunk Driving?
That's right.
Yeah, hi. Go ahead, please.
I would like to just ask what the statistics are for the loss of people in car crashes or accidents, like we used to call them. Because I know that we have a burden of disease study from 2010 and also from the National Injury Mortality Surveillance System that says that the death rate by motor vehicle accidents is between 18 to 25,000 in South Africa. So I'd just like to ask if that is what has also been discussed in this report, and why, we concentrate so much on HIV and on diabetes and that, and yet I know I've just come back from a conference with World Health Organization, and the leading cause of death in the 15 to 29-year-olds in Africa is car crashes.
All right, just hold the line.
And I'd just like his queries and to know what the death rate is in South Africa from crashes from 2010.
All right, please hold the line. Don't put the phone down because it's an important question here. Yeah, Mr. Lehotla?
Yes, the causes of death due to accidents, those are about 5,300.
5,300,
yes. But all causes of unnatural nature are about 48,000.
Wait, I'm confused here. 5,300, because on an annual basis, these are the figures from the Department of Transport. And Carol, you may correct me if I'm wrong here. I thought that we lose about 14,000 people every year from car crashes. 14,000. Now you're talking about 5,000.
The causes of death here for the year 2010 from car crashes. That's about 5,900. I'll get that table here.
I am completely confused.
Yes. Yeah, no, I'm confused too, because certainly from the department burden of diseases study, it says it's between 18,000 to 25,000, and from the national injury mortality, they're saying the same figure. So I can't understand why suddenly it's going down to 5,900.
Mr. Lewis?
Well, it is.
5,000?
Yeah, 5,300.
For that particular year?
For the particular year, 2010. And then for the rest of the other non-natural causes, we come up to about...
Just the festive period alone in any given year is over 1,000.
Yes, that's... so.
In any given year?
In any given year, that's 1,000. But it drops throughout the year. You have December, which is your December to... And in April, we have another 1,000 Africans.
Is that Malipela from Stats SA? Good morning. Hi, welcome, Malipela.
Thank you very much. I just wanted to clarify one thing regarding the statistics.
Yeah.
That the statistician general is correctly pointing out. The information we process comes from the information that is provided by doctors. Mm-hmm. And it should, if people say, this is what the Department of Transport is saying, this is what statistics is saying, but in South Africa uses what the doctors write on the notification form. And we will have that for the 8,000 that will talk about all non-natural causes of death, non-natural causes of death, and they're classified accordingly. Then if you have that number that says it's about 5,000 that are due to transport accidents, those are the ones that we could correctly point out as coming out of transport accidents. You will still have other accidents that are not properly classified for us to say this is indeed a transport accident or assault.